Hello, everyone. It's Sarah Altair with the Midweek Zap, and our guest today is Sandra Watson, and we're going to be talking about you, your business, and how to keep your business from taking you over and you staying in control. So, Sandra, welcome. You want to give a brief introduction so folks who don't know who you are can know a little bit about you?
Sure. I'm Sandra Watson, and I teach and coach the ABCs of Google Plus, which can be a number of things, but certainly the basics. Because once you know the basics, then you can go further with your business. I like Google Plus. I think it's a great platform for business, and so that's why I want everybody to get up and running.
Google is a great platform for business. And I also want to mention that Compass Network is simultaneously broadcasting the Midweek Zap today. And so we're going out beyond Google Plus. So thank you very much, Compass Network, for connecting us into the outer world. Um, so, Sandra, you've had three different businesses, and I know when we first started talking about doing this show together, um, one of the things you mentioned is that you had brick and mortar businesses, and that you feel that being online and your web presence is really no difference than having a brick and mortar business. So, you want to talk about that? Because I think some people think there's a huge difference.
Well, in the beginning, I have to say I did too. When I first made a decision that I didn't want another brick and mortar business because of, employees, insurance, business, buildings, oh my gosh, you could go on and on. People that have a brick and mortar, they know what I'm talking about. And just for clarification, I've actually had five businesses, so
Oh, okay.
it's been more than that. I just kind of went from one to another. I happen to love business, and I believe that that's part of why I've done so many. But the one thing that when I came into the idea that I wanted to be having an internet type business, I knew that I had to learn it just like I did any other business that I started. I had to find the nuances of it, what made it tick, um, and I honestly was pretty intimidated about it because knowing the internet and how to get around on the internet is totally different. For me, it was not the same as being able to go out and shake hands or introduce myself or know that. And once I got into the internet and social media and understanding it, it really became very clear to me it's very much the same in many abstract ways. For instance, when I meet somebody, it's no different than when I meet somebody in a brick and mortar business. What do I do with that person after I meet them? How do I continue that relationship? And I looked at it and said, I can evolve that relationship the same way that I did in a brick and mortar. I can send out a card, although it's a digital card. I can send out different promotions, like if I had a brick and mortar, if we had a special coming up, I would share that. It was nothing different. I just had to find that out in my head. And I had to realize that, yes, I have the ability to reach the whole world, just like I did in a brick and mortar. I had the ability to reach a whole city, a state if I wanted to. But was that what I wanted to do or what I needed to do with that business? Now, certainly, some businesses that are online do need to reach the whole world, but you look at the world as being your own little community. It's no different. We tend to make it so massive that we scare ourselves in what we do, and then we kind of shut down and say, "I can't do this." It's totally different. When in reality, it's not totally different. It's the way we're perceiving it in our head.
I think that's a very good point. Is one how you perceive your business, and we were talking in the green room, and I want to bring it up right now, and that is about not really seeing your competitors, but focusing on your business and your customers and the message and the whole business persona that you have created, what you are doing to deliver to your customers or your prospects. Why does a prospect want to become a customer.
Well, that's true. The thing is, so often we concentrate more on what other people are doing that we lose sight of what it is that we started for. And I think that's the hardest thing on being in social media to understand is I don't have to emulate you. I don't have to copy you, Zara. I don't have to copy the other influencers. I don't have to do anything the way they are. Am I aware of my competition? Sure, I'm aware of them, but no more than if I had a brick and mortar business. I never went into my office or my business when I had a physical address and said, oh, wow, what's so-and-so doing today? I've got to get online and see what they're doing before I do anything else. That never happened, and it shouldn't happen when we're online either. We should be concentrating on what it is that we want to do for our target market. And we have to realize that our target market is not everybody that we're even communicating with in social media. Understand that this is just relationships that we're building. And when we first get into social media, sometimes we build relationships with people that we just generally like, knowing they're never going to buy a product or anything that we do, a service, but we just like them. That's no difference than being in business in real life. We come across people that we like, we get to know them, and hopefully if they know somebody that needs our service, they'll recommend us. That's all we're doing, but I don't worry about competition. And when you get to that point, you've lost track of who you are and what you're doing in business. That's going to hurt you in the long run.
So if you lose track of what you're doing, just elaborate on that. Yes, if you lose, it's definitely about staying focused, at least in my mind. It's about staying focused on the purpose of your business and who your market is and the message that you are giving to your market, and the message is who you are. And I think sometimes people get lost in, this is how we originally came up with this topic. I think sometimes people get lost in, oh my gosh, I'm in business. I have to be this business persona, and it's not really them for whatever the reasons. And they may be very skilled at what they do and the services they have to offer, but they are shielding themselves with this, what they perceive is a business persona.
Excuse me. Well, one of the things that I think that it's really difficult is because we are communicating so often, especially for, like me, I'm here all the time. Yet that doesn't mean that my target market is here all the time. And so I have to remember that just because I'm listening to what you may say, or let's just take, all right, I'm going to name some of the names that are in our stream, like Phil Bauer and Cheryl Deuce and Kevin Burns and Sean Mahan and Sheila Hennessy, or Hensley, excuse me, Sheila, I really pronounced that wrong, but I have to remember that even though I know you guys, I know your avatar and everything, you may not be my target market. And my target market may not be able to be here because they're running a business that is in real life. And not everybody that we're doing business with is here all the time. And so I can easily get sidetracked by talking to Phil, talking to Kevin, talking to you, and forgetting that, hey, over here is the target market that wants to hear what I have to say, and I need to be putting together what it is that they need also, because that's why I came. Mm-hmm. Sure, I came to talk to you and to get to know you. I mean, I enjoy that, but sometimes I get so tracked off here in the comment stream that I forget I need to get back here and work on this project that is for my target market who needs what I have. And the same with you, Zara. I mean, it would be very easy for you to just stay on HOAs all day and private video chats and forget the other things that you need to do that are for your business. Mm-hmm. Because if we're not talking about business, which we are today, then we have to keep that business in focus. And that would be like having an in real life business and being away from the business all the time and wondering why all of a sudden the business isn't there.
Oh,
because
that
we
is such
weren't
a
there
great
managing
that
it.
is such a great analogy. Well, the store's open, but you can't conduct
Where's
business
Sandra?
because nobody's here to take your order or talk about what you need. And that is just such a terrific point, and I think it can be one of the distractions of being on Google Plus or any other social platform for that matter, because it can be a lot of fun and it's a great amount of fun, talking with people and catching all that sparkle and but always when you're in business, you need to have that um, the end in mind is your customer and what they need and how you can help them resolve a problem, whatever it is. And um, so it's I call it discernment. Is that as much fun as it is to watch HOAs, which was your example, to watch HOAs all the time, there's a point where you have to measure and discern which is more important. You know, I, I, do I need to be working on a way to reach my market, or should I just hang out at this totally fun HOA and chat with all the other people in the audience who are here? Or should I, at this point in time, really focus on something I need to do for my marketing? And I think that's something that most people think about. I mean, if they're serious about their business, if they're, you know, their business, because what happens is, you get all this engagement and you're having fun and talking to people, and you kind of get off track from what your business goal is. And then all of a sudden you're in this overwhelm mode. It's like, oh my gosh, I haven't done my, email letter for the week or whatever it is that, is one of your marketing um, activities. And then you feel overwhelmed because you've fallen behind. So that um, I think discernment is a major part of being in business and being in business for the long term.
Well, and the other thing that I always look at as far as business, one of the things that you and I talked about was how to keep your energy level.
Hmm.
Part of that is I always liken a business to having a baby. And you and I talked a little bit about that. But when you have a new baby, you have to concentrate on that little character day and night for a short period of time because you're its only substance. And it's the same thing in a new business. And so a lot of people, when they get to if they're just starting a business, you're going to have to be concentrating on that. That's getting all of your energy. So when I said zapped in a comment that I made earlier, that's exactly what I'm talking about. When you get to that first stage of that business, you're pretty zapped. I remember when I started a spa one time, I was involved in the oh my gosh, we were doing all kinds of improvements on it. I had inspections by the city, by the state, and I had contractors coming in and out. I'd go home at night and I could hardly fall asleep because I was putting so many things together. But that was like having that new infant. And then as the infant started getting a little bit to where it could sleep through the night, I got to get more rest a little bit. And I think it's the same thing with business. We have to look at it that way. What are we going to concentrate on? What stage of the business are we in? What stage of that child are we in? And I see you brought up a comment here, so I'm going to let you read that before I go any further. How's that,
Okay.
Zara?
Yes, this is from Brian. Hi, Brian. Thanks not only for being here, but engaging in our discussion. And Brian says, I think we might get caught up in marketing and forget to just be natural. Make connections from common interests. Enjoy. It's a great point because if we're not natural, uh, we're not we're not who we really are. And believe me, we were just talking about this before the show started, that it's not you. It's not you. And you is the bottom line of how people engage in your business and what you have to offer. So if you're not being you, it's the insincerity comes across. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. And I think the other side of it is if you're not doing it because you truly enjoy it, then I'd say reevaluate anything that has to do with business. And if that includes social media for business, then yeah, look at it. If you're not enjoying that, that comes across very quickly too. Nobody likes to be around uptight people, people that are just trying to get things across because they're supposed to and everything. I mean, I like to laugh. I like to have fun a little bit. I can be serious. I mean, anybody that's seen me can tell I can be very serious. And when you get me into a situation where we have to be serious, I can do that. But I can also be very lighthearted. And one of the things that I know about business is that if you don't have the passion for it and you don't have the love for it, it's not going to be a good business for you. It can kill you. It can kill you emotionally, it can kill you physically, and it can kill relationships. So it's really important that you enjoy what you're doing and that comes across to people. We can all see, when, especially on HOAs, I think it's real relevant and real obvious, the ones that are having a great time and the ones that don't.
Yes, it is. It's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious.
But you can see that in the written word, too.
Sean Mann has a really good comment. Hi, Sean. Thanks for being here. Sean says, and I guess we need to be clear as to what are the income-generating activities we need to be doing. We all enjoy social media. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. But clearly, social media
Platforms
are just part of the marketing mix, and HOAs and posts in and of themselves do not a business make. But we all know that anyway. Thank you, Sean. But it's a great point to bring up. It's a great point.
Well, you know, I think it's really important, Zara, to keep in mind that when you have a business, let's say it is a brick and mortar business, you always know what your cost of goods are, what your expenses are, and what your income needs to be. And it should be the same thing with anything that we're doing here. We need to constantly keep that in mind. You know, so many times I wonder, do we lose track of the fact, or if we have a business and we're spending a lot of time here, is it generating the income, or at some point are we going to have to quit what we've spent so much time on because we haven't been generating the income that we would have had to do in a business? For instance, I had a business one time, the one that I did a lot of improvements on, put so many thousands and tens of thousands of dollars into that business, opened 2 months, and I had not enough business to make it. I mean, they say you build it and they'll come, right? Well, let me tell you, that doesn't always happen. So my little creative brain had to get very creative and come up with a way, which I did. And within 3 months, we were profitable. However, we have to do the same thing here. We have to keep that in mind.
We do. And then Kevin Burns has a great point. He says, Sandra Watson, like all things we do, we have to manage our time for that. Google Plus has a draw, no doubt. I'm learning many things, observing, not likely to keep the pace longer term. My take, learn, refine, optimize, manage attention, have fun. And I know Kevin spends a lot of time. I don't know how he does it. But anyway, Kevin spends a lot of time on HOAs. But I think you're right, Kevin. Learn, refine, optimize, manage attention, have fun. I might put have fun just a little bit higher up on the list. How about you?
I'm going to add on to that, take personal time. Make sure that you refresh yourself. In any business, you have got to remember that if you don't take care of you, you can't take care of the business, and you can't take care of those that you're trying to service. Too many times we give away too much energy and forget about us, and then in the long run, it has its consequences. And a lot of the people that I know, we've talked about that. There has to be the time that you walk away and say, okay, guys, I know you real well, but if I was in real life, you'd have to understand, I've got a party to go to, or I've got a dinner to go to, or I've got a relationship I have got to nurture also. And I think it's important that we keep that in mind in any business so that the business does not consume us. You and I talked about this, Ara, and I say, I may have this business, but this is not my life. My life is separate from the business. I still have a life. If I sell a business, if I close down a business, if I decide to do something else around that business, it's not going to kill me because it is not me. I am separate from that business. That is just an extension of my passions and my desires and my dreams. That's all. And I'm happy I got to do it. And if I sell it, I'm ecstatic that somebody else gets to make their dream come from what I've already created. If I close it down, it was a time for something else new. That's all. It doesn't absorb me so much that I'm less without the business. I'm always more because of it.
Yes, I think that's such a very good attitude. I call it the overview. You know, the overview is, the business is the business, and and you work hard at it, and you make it successful. And yes, I know I have sold a practice, and that too is a really wonderful feeling. If here's somebody who's needing more, and you're backing away from that particular business and going on to something else, and it works for everybody, and that it's when that business is gone, the you that is you is still there. You are still there. You haven't lost part of yourself because that particular business is gone. And what is Phil? Oh, Phil, I don't know what the excellent point was. Phil Boyer says, excellent point. Oh, Phil. Okay, let's do another Phil. Phil says, business, fun, there's a difference. Well, for some of us, maybe not.
Well, I have to say, Phil, I totally understand what you're saying, because I believe that if you're in a business that you love, it is the same thing as fun. I get that, because I totally embrace that. But I also know that there is a time separate from that is a different type of fun, and that's the personal side of the fun. Because
one of the things I like about my particular business right now, being online and pretty much organizing my own time, is that when my son calls and says, "Hey Mom, we're going to the playground, you want to join us?" I can stop mid-sentence on something I'm writing and go, "Yes," and I'm off to the playground for an hour or two. And then I come back and I do whatever. But there's something really fun about joining your family and having fun and doing things together that is totally invigorating. It actually reinvigorates you to get in there and work on your business. And let's see, Sean has another point here. Sean says, I think you can be here for both business and social, Brian Shea and Cheryl Deuce. I certainly want to have fun also and have created great connections for which I'm very grateful. But on days where I am also using Google Plus as a business tool as well as a social one, what I've learned is to be a bit more disciplined in terms of my focus and time management. But I do love the genuine social connections too. I have to say that's true for me as well, Sean, is and what I mentioned earlier about, I call it discernment, is being able to distinguish the connection time and the fun time you have engaging with people on Google Plus and the time that you are really focused on your business activities, and that creating that balance is part of being in business. It's just part of being in business.
I know we were talking about the type of personalities that get in business for themselves, Zara, you and I, in the past, and I said, I'm the kind, if you have to put me in a box, I'm going to be like a caged tiger, and I'm going to find a way to get out of it. And that's why I've had so many businesses. I love the excitement and the thrill of watching things grow. and change and evolve. And social media and being on the internet has a lot of that. So I have to be very careful not to get too involved in that sometimes, because it can take you away from what it is that you really want to do. And you have to reevaluate that at times. You have to sit and say, what is it I really came here for?
Exactly, exactly. Especially from your business side. And Jessica, who does have a brick and mortar business, Jessica Maynard, says, exactly, Phil Boyer. Love what I am doing, so business is fun. I do avoid the dusting and tagging clothing by having my part-timer do it. Yay! So we haven't touched on, thank you, Jessica. That's a great comment. Um, we actually haven't addressed outsourcing and doing and using discernment once again to know what our strengths and weaknesses are and to get professional help, whatever that might be. You want to address that, Sandra?
Well, I can tell you that's one of the reasons that I was able to actually, in my opinion, make money at the businesses that I did have, because I couldn't do the work myself. When I had a printing company, I didn't know how to run a press. I didn't know how to take the pictures. I didn't know how to do the stripping for the negatives and all that. I always had to rely on somebody else to do all of the parts of the business that I could sell. Same thing when I had a spa. I couldn't do the massages. I couldn't do a lot of the things that had to be done. I had to depend on other people. So I had to figure out a way to make money to outsource. And I think if you keep that in your mind as a substance, that if you have to do it all, you are going to burn out and explode some point. Nobody can be everything, and it's not a wise way to build a business, because essentially you don't have a business, you have a job. A business is something that you can walk away from at times, and like she said, let somebody else take care of the clothes and do the dusting so she can go do other things. And that's exactly what outsourcing is. You get a virtual assistant if you have to. You whatever it is, have somebody do your graphics, have somebody do some of your planning, your website, whatever. But put that in your plan. Don't ever assume that you have to do it, because right there you've got a plan for a business that it's not going to be sustainable. You're going to wear out.
I think that's such a very good point, and I like that you said to put it in your business plan. So when you are starting your business, or as you're revising your business and making revisions to your business plan, that you include that outsourcing for the things that you don't do well or you don't know how to do at all, and include that as part of your budget, because otherwise it's going to be so frustrating. And that is exactly where you shoot yourself in the foot. You just, you're not happy, the business isn't going along, and now Sandra's pulled something up. So tell us what you have there, Sandra.
Well, I think that Frank Gainsford brought up a really good point that he was talking back to Sean. He said, indeed, time management is always an issue. I'm here on Google Plus to learn and promote the hashtag FUFISM. I'm not going to say that wrong, Frank. Philosophy from a business perspective. I often get carried away and listen in on HOAs that are not totally relevant to, can you pronounce that for me?
I think it's
Fufism?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really messing that up, Frank. Too bad you can't be here and say it out loud for us. That are not totally relevant to his word, and end up losing the plot completely. And I think that's exactly what you were saying and what we were saying. We get so involved in some of these things because, okay, maybe it's somebody we like and we want to see what they have to say, but it has nothing to do with what we're going to be doing today. And we lose track of time, and we sit there and we're not being totally engaged in what we need to be, and then try to make that up is not a good thing. So I think that it's really important that we watch our timing, and is this relevant to what I should be doing? And that's a biggie when you're in business for yourself and you're a small business. Let's say you don't have employees, which a lot of people here on Google Plus don't. It's a one-person business, and it's so easy to forget that. You know, when you get up in the mornings, do you dress like you're going to work? Do you put a clock nearby or on your computer and keep an eye on it? Do you eat at a certain time? Do you get up and walk around? Do you take a break? Do you do those things that you would do if you were working for someone else? And one of the things that has always kept me sane, Zara, and I'll share this with everybody, I always pretended any business I had was not mine. I was working for somebody else, and I was growing that business for them so that they would give me a huge bonus.
Oh, that's such a great image. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's just wonderful. It's like, the bonus is going to come because I'm doing this great work for them. And them, in this case, is the business itself.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're kind of at the end of our time, so I wanted to talk about one last thing. And let's bring up Brian Shea before we get to the one last thing here. Here we go. Self-employed and small business sometimes get too caught up in doing everything themselves, thinking they are saving money, but losing time and efficiency. Oh, thank you so much, Brian, for making that so clear, because it's true. You're not saving money. You are not saving money, and you're burning yourself out. And I
Well,
wanted...
I'm sorry, in the long run, you're actually costing yourself money because you can't grow.
Yes, exactly. And I wanted to close with a point that we brought up several weeks ago, Sandra, when we were chatting, and that is your whole life is not to impress people. You said that, and I just thought it was such a great take on everything. You're not here to impress. You're here to be in business. Go for it. Tell us more.
Well, if you're being yourself, I mean, some people themselves, I guess that could be the case. But for me, it is, I am not in business to impress you with what I am capable of doing. Generally, it's only to impress myself sometimes that, hey, wow, I was able to accomplish that. But even that being said, it's not that. It's because I have a passion that I want to see somebody get something from my services, or something that I'm doing is going to help them grow and be better at what they do. I've always felt that if I can have people leave my environment when I had a business, had employees, if they left thinking they were better than who they were when they came, I did a good job. And therefore, I have made good relationships. So it's not to impress you. It's to take care of the business that I started for the reason that I did it, so that at some point I can look back and say, wow, that was a job well done, and I'm pleased with it. That's the whole thing for me. It's a joy. It's just so much fun to see other people be happy. I mean, even in the ABCs of Google Plus, when I've seen somebody say, wow, I didn't know that before, I mean, I get so excited. It's like, how cool is that I was able to help somebody learn something quicker and faster and easier than they would have on their own. It's the same thing when I had the printing company, I had the spa, I had marketing, and when I was in other things, and I won't go into it, I was hoping that everybody was going to be happier because they had been in my environment today. And that's not to impress them, that's just to make them happy.
Making happy is a really good thing. And then we have a comment from Luc Chalois. What is your most valuable resource? Your time. And Luc, that's just so true, and it fits in with everything we've said about managing your time on Google Plus and how you spend your energy on Google Plus, managing your time as far as outsourcing the things that are your weak points or that you just can't do yourself, and managing your time as far as personal enjoyment in life and personal enjoyment in your business is concerned. I think that's a great way to wrap up our whole discussion today, Sandra, and we do need to bring this to a close because we're kind of creeping over the time here, speaking of time. And you've been at the Midweek Zap, and our guest is Sandra Watson. And next week, we're going to be talking more about business, and we're going to be with the wild and wonderful Yvonne Hyman, and I hope you join us next week. And I want to thank all our guests today for your wonderful comments and for participating, because I truly believe that Hangouts on Air without audience participation is not the full game, and that one of the reasons I like doing Hangouts on Air is bringing those people in the audience into our discussion. So I want to thank you all so much for contributing to today's discussion. And Sandra, love your words of wisdom. It's really been great having you here. I think you've inspired everyone to rethink, their business and to stay within their own personal life, their life. Your business is not your life. So let's say goodbye and thank you again. Bye, everyone. Thank you.